Hey there, Stampers, and welcome to another Step It Up video. This week I'm going to run through these a little bit different. There's a lot of detail in some of them and I can't possibly do it all in 15 minutes. So I'm going to show you the basics, and then there'll be some stills on my blog on how to do some of the things on number 3. So this is step 1, pretty straightforward. I'm going to kind of show you what I do for this, and then I basically pick out the 3 colors that I'm going to use and then work from there. So I'll show you. This is step 1, step 2, and then step 3. And this is the detail in particular. It's not difficult to do, but I have some stills to show you because it did kind of take some finessing. So anyway, I think these are all very fun cards. You start with a Sahara Sand base, and depending on which card you're doing, I'm using Not Quite Navy and Baja Breeze and Very Vanilla cardstock for all of these. I have a crimper that I used on this one, but look at the difference in the color of the cards. And this is after inking. So step 2 and step 3 have a lot of inking, and that takes time, so I can't really show you. There's lots of videos that I have shown you the inking, but so this one's pretty straightforward. All the measurements will be on the blog, so I'm going to move on. Step 2, and all the measurements will be on the blog. The only thing I really did different is I made a larger mat here. Everything has been inked, and then instead of doing a full mat on the card base, I love this little detail, and it brings interest to the lineup here. And then using the eyelet border there, it also, you know, it mimics over here and balances it out, and I really like the detail. So on the step 3, I did the exact same thing, but we added another layer of texture by using the crimper. And again, this is uninked and this is inked, so you can see it really changes the way it looks. And then instead of just a plain mat, I sort of made it to look like a tag, and then did it skewed a little bit. So same components, but put together differently, and most of that will be on the blog. I want to show you quickly. I know a couple people have asked me about my palette when I do my dry aqua painter. This I've had for a long time. I don't even know where I got it, but oftentimes, because I'm a mess, when I can't find my palette, I will use a wooden stamp set. It took me a long time to find this because I had used it as my palette when I made it. So this is the line, and I'll just stick a piece of white paper in there so that I can see the ink colors. And so I'll put it on here and you know, use it as my palette. So I'm using the holiday lineup, and I always start with Stays On. And I don't cut this piece of paper to size and then try to stamp it. That would prove to be way too frustrating for me because it would never come out correctly. So instead, I kind of follow the natural line of the paper, and I usually line up 2 sides of the block, and then go ahead and make sure I have good contact. And there are our guys. So at this stage, depending on what colors I've chosen to use, I would use my dry aqua painter to paint this. And you can see that I used Baja Breeze, Not Quite Navy. I did add a little pumpkin pie for the nose. I used a little early espresso and diluted it and pulled it out here. And then I used a little crumb cake. And on these little thin lines, I didn't use the aqua painter. I just used the fine tip of the marker. So I use the brush tip to add, you know, the color on my palette. But then when the little teeny tiny things, I don't try to use the aqua painter because it could be a mess. So I just use great tools available. So painted it, and then I sponged the ink with I used Sahara Sand, crumb cake, and soft suede just on the image. Nothing else on this one has been sponged. Layered it, added a little sentiment here, and you could add anything here. You have room. I used this one because on the other 2, remember, I will not have a full mat, and so I needed something that would fit. Something to keep in mind depending on which one you want to do. So on this one, everything has been sponged with ink. The card base. On the Not Quite Navy, the Sahara Sand and Crumb Cake and Soft Suede don't really show up, so I did use Early Espresso on the Not Quite Navy, but I continued to use the same combination of inks for sponging the rest of the card. And the only difference here is this little detail, and then I just took a little piece of the striped soft suede to pull this together and knotted it and used a glue stick. So easy. And then this one has the little more detail. So this is sponged, everything on this one is sponged. And this is a very fun little thing. And what I did, oh, I have the ribbon in my hair. Had a little piece that had some flaw in it. So I just folded it like this, and there's stills that will better show it. And then I took a piece of chocolate chip satin, and I used a glue dot to hold it exactly where I wanted. And then I pulled this together, and I used baker's twine to tie a little knot so that I could manipulate it the way I wanted it and without trying to fuss with it. So anyway, this is probably not your favorite Stampin' Up video, but because of time constraints I can't possibly show, but I've done a lot of dry aqua painting. It's very easy to do, and then sponging as well. So this will give you some ideas on where to go. Step 1, Step 2, and then Step 3. And if you wanted to, you could even, bump it up more, and you could add some dazzling diamonds on the snowman. You could, add other details. You could outline it with glass glitter. There's a lot of different things you can do. I just kept it all kind of, distressed looking. And you could actually distress all the edges too. So there's lots that can be done. Look for the stills that'll show you exactly how to do this. And I added these 2 little brads. I hope it's been helpful, and I hope you've had some skills, some other videos that you've seen that, so when I was doing this, and I'm sorry, I thought, oh, there's no way in 15 minutes I can show them how to do all of this. But this is what I created, and I hope you find this helpful in some way, shape, or form. And I'll see you next week. I've got some good ones next week, really easy to do, and I can show you the whole process. See you then. Bye-bye.